I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thanks everybody for forgiving my forgetfulness. I was actually just looking out the window and thinking, oh, I have to drive here. So anyway, let the roll call show that what I think Carl is there. John is there. I am telephonically there. And Dr. Lewis, members of cabinet, probably in Hilda Juarez.
Correct.
Good guess.
Yep.
Okay. We want to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting and remind the audience of the request to address board cards that must be completed and submitted to the board secretary if they wish to speak to an agenda item. Board policy provides for 2 cards, white cards to be submitted in order to speak to an agenda item and blue cards to be submitted in order to speak during public comments. Policy also states there is a 5-minute maximum time limit per speaker. Due to the open meeting law, board members are not allowed to address items that are not on the agenda. If you do not want to address the board but wish to give your comments in writing, you can do so on a goldenrod sheet and all members will receive a copy. Okay, and that will take us to item 2A, approval of agenda.
I move the governing board approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any public comments tonight?
No.
Great. Not that we don't want the public to be there. Let's see. That will take us to item 4A.
Madam President, members of the board, and folks who are joining us tonight. First of all, I would like to say a huge congratulations to the Human Resources Department for working like crazy to get our hiring going in collaboration with the principals and the department chairs. Just a massive approach. We have districts around us with still 40 teacher openings, still 30 teacher openings, still 20 teacher openings. We have 2 teacher openings across the district. I want to congratulate Dr. Lipscomb and the entire team on their massive effort in recruiting really fine quality people too. We're really excited. We had our new teacher orientation this past week, and again, a big congratulations to Sylvia Earle and Eric and his whole team. Miriam, thank you so very much. We had a really great turnout. CEA was a big part of that in terms of being around and helping people feel supported. And then our new, everybody comes back tomorrow, so we're excited. We have the Welcome Back Rally at the Shriners, and our theme is Adventurous Learning. And Jeannie, will you be there tomorrow to wear the goggles?
I will be there tomorrow to wear the goggles, yes.
Great, we've got a fun adventure going there. We're hoping everything works and that there's no storm damage that shuts down our power, because we're kind of power dependent, aren't we?
Oh my goodness.
We've got 9 schools that are in good shape, although LCK had some storm damage to a shade structure, and Mackin right now is struggling with putting up some sandbags for some flooding, so we're watching everything like a hawk for storm damage to make sure we're ready for kids on Monday. I know a lot of people are having their welcome meet the teacher night. I'm trying to think, Jeff, if you guys have yours. I know Friday for Biltmore. Jeff, do you have a meet the teacher?
Tomorrow afternoon.
Tomorrow afternoon, 3 to 4. So we just got all that gear up, high energy going, and it's never long enough. We really need our teachers here earlier for some deep planning. But we're very, very excited and just couldn't be more thrilled for all the work that's gone on in the summer to help us prepare. So thanks to the entire team. That concludes my report.
Thank you. So that takes us to governing board reports. Mr. Zaragoza, do you have anything to report?
Yep. Just a less of a report and more just some comments. On Monday, my daughter starts in a Creighton school. I'll be a proud Creighton parent for the first time, and that comes with nerves, of course. This is kindergarten. This is our first attempt. So I know that's already shifting the way I think, and the questions that I bring to the superintendent, which I'm sure I'll also be bringing to the governing board. So just wanted to prepare you all for that, but also just state how excited we are to have a Creighton school to send my own daughter to.
Great. So happy that you chose Creighton, Carl. Let's see, Donna,
Yeah.
Donna Young. Thank you.
No, I have-
Do you have any governing board reports?
No, thank you, thanks.
Okay. For me, I guess the big report is that I was able to make it to the new teacher luncheon with Dr. Lewis there and members of CEA. And it was, first of all, I don't know if I'm old or they're really young. They're so young to me, and I think it's really exciting that they are embarking on their journey as teachers and that they've chosen Creighton to start that journey. And it was really a great opportunity for me to get to meet some of the new teachers and to see some of my old Gateway. So that's my big report. Other than that, I already have students this week, and in case you're wondering how many, I'll tell you, 210. So that should be fun. It's more students than I've ever had in my whole entire career of teaching that I have to keep track of. But so far, we're in the honeymoon phase, and everything looks good.
Wow.
Let's see. So that will take us to consent agenda items.
I move the governing board approve consent agenda item A through P in accordance with policy BEDD-R.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then that will take us to the next item, 8A, personnel. And presentation. Hey, may I ask really quickly, is PEA there filming?
Yes.
CEA, I think that if CEA was here filming.
It's not live, though.
It's not live?
Okay. Good evening, Madam President, members of the governing board, and Dr. Lewis and the executive team. Thank you for allowing me to present this evening our annual report on the performance classifications of teachers and principals. Ms. Castine, can you see the PowerPoint?
It's
Hold on, let me get to the library here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, originally, Mr. Myers from the CINA department and Meredith Hearn-Savitas were teacher on assignment. We're going to co-present, but we decided since it's a small board meeting, I'd like to tap into their expertise at a future meeting where we need them.
I wanted to pause and take us back just a second because we just did an important consent agenda item, and I think we need to give pause to a particular individual who just accepted a pretty important leadership position at Papago as our new assistant principal, Sylvia Earle. So we want to give her credit. And her family's here tonight. Do you want to say a word or two, Sylvia? Who have we got with you?
Oh, this is my son Lucas. Lucas, will you say hi? You too busy eating
Hi,
Cheetos?
Lucas. Cheetos are pretty
Say
good.
hi.
Those look delicious.
And this is my husband Dan.
Everybody.
And congratulations, you'll never see her again.
He's very supportive.
And,
Pick these out of the field for you.
Congratulations.
To us.
Big challenge.
Got it?
Got the drenched.
Yeah. Cheating?
Lucky me.
Where are you going?
Other duties as assigned. There they are.
Can you wash your hands?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that, Dr. Lugo, but just thought this was, we had family here and some flowers, and it's important. And by the way, on that particular topic, we had a really great candidacy pool, and all internal, great choices, and Sylvia just hit it out of the ballpark on everything and is ready for this big challenge. Of course she did, so great job. I'm sorry about that, but I had to grab that particular item.
My apologies for jumping on that. Thank you. Sorry. Congratulations.
Thank you. All right, so we're not gonna have Tyson or Meredith.
No.
All right. Mrs. Casteen, we're ready to resume the presentation, and we're on the first slide called History Evaluation System Development.
So just,
Thank you. I'm on the same page. Perfect.
okay, great. Just to refresh the governing board and people in the room's memory, that we began this quest for an evaluation system to be aligned with state guidelines and statute in the fall of 2010 with a very large advisory committee. Then in the fall of 2013, we adopted the framework, and I'll go quickly through what our framework looks like. And then we had a revision just this past spring with implementing the Danielson framework for the observation portion of the evaluation, and as well as the school letter grades were suspended and AZ merit was on hold. So this presentation this evening is in compliance with ARS 15203 that says that the governing board annually shall discuss at a public meeting the aggregate performance classification of principals and teachers. As a reminder, the definitions for the 4 classifications are adopted by the state, and each district is to adopt the same definitions. So our teachers, we could have more definitions if we'd like, but what's reported to the state are the 4 performance categories: ineffective, developing, effective, and highly effective. I'd like to just share a little bit of a comparison from last year's aggregate of the teacher ratings, where Danielson was not included and AZ merit was also not included, compared to this year's framework, where Danielson rubric it has been included, but the AZ merit is not included. For next year, AZ merit will be included in the overall performance of our teachers. I'm seeing on this slide that it looks like some pieces are bold, but they are not bold with intent. They're all supposed to be the same. It's coming out differently on this computer. So you'll see that this year we had 31% of our teachers fall into the highly effective category, as opposed to last year at 53%. The biggest shift that you'll see is from highly effective to effective, with 65%, and compared to last year at 44%. Developing and ineffective remain stable.
Dr. Luga, okay, last year it was without Danielson or merit. This year it's with Danielson, no merit.
Correct.
Did you just, for fun and giggles, flip in Arizona merit on the scores to see where we would be?
I did not, because for fun and giggles, it's a pretty complex formula to figure that out. I could ask the research and evaluation team to help me with that. What we did do was dig deeper into the data and see why the shift occurred, because we were expecting a higher classification in developing based on what I was seeing and Mr. Dupin and team was seeing by the evaluations of the observation portion of the data coming through. There are more and more teachers, and if you speak to a principal, you'll hear that it's really hard to get highly effective, and it's also really hard on that Danielson rubric to get ineffective in 2 areas. But developing and effective seem to be where the bulk of the people are. So when we analyzed the situation, it seemed that our test results that we are currently using for this, the pre-post measures, the Azella reclassification, what was pulling people out of the developing and keeping them in the effective, not in ineffective. Does that make sense? It's a lot to wrap the brain around. Okay.
Question?
Yes, sir.
Do we also have this disaggregated by length of service? The question is more about, I hear we have a lot, I mean, we know we have a lot of first-year teachers. It's hard to keep teachers in the profession. The research shows that the longer you're a teacher, like around 3 to 5 years, you don't necessarily get better. But this doesn't, so I just was wondering if we're seeing any difference between a 10-year teacher versus a first-year teacher. Because if we have so many first-year teachers and they're all but 5% are effective or highly effective, that's a pretty compelling data point.
That this has not been disaggregated, but I can absolutely do that by years of service in the district or total years of service as a teacher
Just total years of service
within the district.
would be interesting to me.
I'd be happy to bring that back or put it in as
We
a
can put it in an
board
update.
Yeah,
update.
this would be fine.
So the aggregate ratings of the principals, their experience ranges from 3 to 30 years. 100% of them rated in the highly effective or effective range, which goes down to about 80%. The student growth percentiles, these are modifications for the calculations for next year's because we've had some changes. The student growth percentiles are no longer being provided by the state, so they have been removed as part of the calculations. We will still be using the pre-post assessments. This year, no teachers used the student learning objectives in our system, so they have been removed. And there are no changes proposed for the observation portion. This will only be our second year using the Danielson model, so the evaluation committee recommends that we continue on that path as we learn Danielson. So those are proposed. And then recommendations from the committee for next year is to continue to focus on Danielson, specifically with a focus in Domain 1, which is the planning and preparation. We began a deeper dive in that work with the qualified evaluators training and the principals and assistant principals of making sure we have inter-rater reliability with Domain 1. There were some concerns about the assessment for grade 1 for the pre-assessment. The first grade teachers, the person who represents the first grade teachers felt that the pre-assessment that is somewhat early to be assessing the students, that they're struggling developmentally with completing the assessment. And then for consideration for this year's work with the evaluation committee is consider alternative models for assessments for preschool reading interventionists and resource teachers. So right now preschool uses the GOLD assessment and that is a very in-depth look at our preschoolers. I think there's 80-some components that need to be documented. The reading interventionists and the resource teachers currently use the school aggregate data, and there's some conversation. We've tried it both ways where we've looked at number of students exited, but we haven't found the perfect recommendation for that at this time. Any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
No,
Oh.
I was trying to.
Oh, I thought you nodded no.
Yeah, no, like I'm familiar with our evolution with the teacher evaluation system, but I'm unfamiliar with our principals. So I was hoping you can give us a quick update on the components of that, and maybe I can slip one in one of these so I can review it
Sure.
like at a later date.
So the principal's evaluation system numerically aligns with the teacher's breakout. So you have 100% of points that can be earned. The teachers have 35% on individual classroom data, 10% on school aggregate data, and 55% on observational data. The principals have 45% on the school data.
Yeah.
Then they have the 55% based on school goals, which are aligned to the superintendent goals and the ISLIC standards.
Okay, that makes sense. Helpful, thank you.
like my pie crust with my hands?
This is the big pie, this is the little pie.
I'm curious, I think my question is, I'm just thinking about first graders taking a test, and it makes my stomach turn just a little bit, and I'm trying to picture, I just guess maybe if you could describe what that looks like exactly. You know, it sounded like you're trying to find alternate assessments, and do those things even exist? Because is it even appropriate based on brain development and what we, you know, I know what our politicians think our first graders should do, but is it
So the,
doing our kids the damage, I guess?
I personally have not witnessed the first grade assessment. It is a paper pencil assessment that is used for ATI. It is used across other districts in the state for a pre-post. We do see growth in that assessment. I don't know about doing damage. I think that some students just are not particularly ready to fill out those assessments. And Mr. Dukin's here, if you could speak to that, if you have a deeper knowledge of, or Ms. Lippman, you're here as well.
Is there a better place to speak?
It's right here into the phone.
So I've observed the, Jeannie, can you hear me? It's Eric.
I can hear you now, yes, thank you.
So I have observed the first grade students taking the assessments. We've worked with the assessments. And I also have a son who's going into second grade who took them last year as a student. So I have kind of the multiple perspectives on what that looks like. And I can say that the challenges that we've observed really relate to kind of the navigation. So if you think of the kinds of complex text that is in a measure that's designed to capture growth, having to read a passage, hold part of it in your memory, go to questions, understand the questions, remember them, and then go and find the corresponding answer. That's where we found the most significant, I guess, challenges based on the developmental readiness levels of our first grade students. It is a useful measure in terms of showing growth, because especially at the beginning of the year, students tend not to do significantly well. And then as the year progresses and students learn, they are able to really increase their performance on that kind of measure. So it's definitely been a, I guess, mixed bag, if you will. It has some benefits in terms of measuring growth for students, which is critically important in our system, but it also has that challenge for just navigating the assessment and being ready to respond to essentially reading comprehension and math comprehension questions. Does that answer your question on our current set of assessments?
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying as far as it being critically important for you to measure growth. I don't know, I feel like I'll just store this one away for another time and think about it a little bit more. I'm just thinking too about, well, I think it'll be something that perhaps maybe I can discuss in more depth with Dr. Lewis to kind of understand it better. So I think that you've answered my question for now.
The other thought that's on my mind about this topic is, there are districts that don't include grade levels or teachers like art teachers or PE teachers into a group A approach to measurement. So we can put teachers in what the state refers to as a group B category, and the group B category takes into account the whole school's growth, since it is required by law that we have some student measure. And there are examples of group A and group B type teachers. First grade teachers in other districts have been put into group B because they don't have necessarily Ames in the previous time frame or now Arizona Merit. So there's other ways to handle this if that's not something that the committee's recommending we continue. In other words, their recommendation was consider alternative assessments, and one of those can be school-wide data and not make it explicitly about first grade testing.
Yeah, I think that may be something that we could maybe discuss, like I said, more in depth, and then maybe even consider making them, like you said, putting them with the group B teachers. I just, me as a parent, and I mean, knowing even my own stepdaughter, and she's she's on the spectrum, and for her to hold the pencil, even though she's, very smart, I think that probably would be a real struggle for her, thinking of her as a first grader. She's a sixth grader now, but I mean, just something that stuck out to me. So thank you for clarifying, and thank you for letting me know what the state requirements are.
Yeah, Dr. Lugo, I have a few other questions. Number one, we have about a third of our educators are highly effective. What are we doing to celebrate that and promote their leadership and let them know that that's something that we honor? Number two, what are we doing about the 5% that are developing and ineffective? What supports are we giving and providing to get them up to par?
Okay, so I can speak to the supports that the system has for developing teachers. And I wish, too bad I can't speak better to the celebration piece, because we do have some highlights, but I think maybe systemically that would be a real area to look at. So as far as if you're a developing teacher or an ineffective teacher, ineffective, if you recall, you receive a preliminary notice of inadequate classroom performance, and that generates a professional improvement plan that is pretty legalese with the actual timelines, 45 instructional days in which to improve, support from the principal, support from various areas. A developing teacher, if a teacher falls into developing 2 years in a row, that generates the same type of preliminary notice, which feels punitive, but really is there to help teachers get better. Those teachers who fell into developing, they also receive supports from the instructional coach and a improvement plan that is not necessarily so scary in the legalese of a formal letter, but the sites work very closely with those teachers who are struggling in any area of the observational rubric. The principals have now who is coming back from their team and who falls into the different tiers, so they can definitely help in that area.
Just to bounce off what he asked with the celebration, which I think is a great idea. With the highly effective and the effective teachers, are they told what category they're at? I'm sure the latter two, the 5%, are told somehow, but the other ones, are they, you just went through how it worked, but are the other ones being told what group they fall into?
Yeah, so upon the final data, when the test scores come in and it's paired and calculated with the observational data, the teachers receive the final annual report, and they meet with their principal if it's not past the school date. So this year we were fortunate enough to get that report out, and many principals made that part of the exit procedures of conferencing with the teachers and sharing with them where they are. Next year, because AZ Merit will be attached to that final annual report, that opportunity may be a missed opportunity for the face-to-face conversation. They will receive their scores electronically. Yet, the observational data that happens with the Danielson rubric, in order to get a 3, where the Danielson talks a lot about great teachers live in 3s, or a 4, which there's proficient and distinguished. They're not exactly aligned with these other 4 classifications. Those observation debriefs happen within 5 days of the formal observation, and that's where the teachers really see what areas they're excelling at and how they can move over on the rubric.
So, if you're, let me phrase this so it doesn't sound so Pavlovian. If you're going to reward a person for being highly effective or effective, you should logically do it right then. And we missed our opportunities last.
We had,
They were told, but there wasn't any celebration of their accomplishments, correct?
Correct.
And next year, if the board or administration or the school or whoever wishes to do something to reward them, we'll get like half a score before break, but we won't know the whole thing until the middle of summer approximately. So it wouldn't logically be a reward until they came back to school, correct? Oh, that's not good.
Well, I appreciate your preconception of Pavlovian, actually. That's actually cool, because what was interesting when we had the calibration conversation with the qualified evaluators early in the year, we talked about we're recalibrating. You know, it's not easy to get a 4. In fact, it's unusual to get a 4 because it's so hard. And so, you know, 3 is a complex, high-level teacher. An effective teacher by these standards is doing a yeoman's job off the chart. And developing teachers are appropriately developing. So we were a little concerned that the state treated developing punitively, like 2 developings and you fail, when we don't see developing that way. I hope we're all developing, all of us in all of our roles. So we have a funny use of the word developing, and when we aligned it to the Charlotte Danielson 1, 2, 3, 4, I think Susan's comment earlier when she started was we expected to see a lot more developing, but that ego that's attached with that punishment approach, I think inhibited the actual rating of what was genuinely good old 2 solid behavior and performance. So it's one of those calibration conversations that you keep working on rate of reliability, and then no matter what, pay for performance, policies, and ego chime in to what the real calibration, but I think the calibration showed a significant shift in, okay, let's redefine what a basically effective teacher is, but by golly, being basically effective anymore is like, wow, that's hard work.
Which, I mean, just to share very honestly, like, my kid's gonna be in front of maybe a new teacher here any day now, any year now,
And
right?
will be in sometime in her career.
And I don't want an ineffective teacher or I want an effective one, but I also just, having been a teacher, like, it's hard to believe that only 4% of our teaching force are developing. This is where, like, the definitions matter, the calibration matter.
Yep.
Like, I think that just doesn't, the data doesn't read right without that piece,
Yeah.
without those definitions.
And if the policy wasn't written that 2 developings is a failure, it wouldn't be a deterrent to use it. But right now, it's a deterrent to use it, instead of saying, isn't that cool, we're all developing. But the law is written to punish. So it's, you know, it's a very interesting to straddle a 2 or a 3 doesn't feel good or encouraging. And what we want to do is encourage growth. The best thing you can say to me is, you're doing a great job, and I want to turn around and come back again tomorrow and do it, even if I still have developing to do.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting ego policy clash.
I mean, I don't have data on this, but observationally, like, just anecdotally from my own life, the folks that I taught with who were on improvement plans and developing in their first years before we had this, they are, like, still in the classroom, rocking and rolling, doing this work. The folks who were, like, praised, highly effective their first year, they did a couple and they were out. So I don't know if there's any, that's just my own anecdotal experience.
And there's different philosophies on what is an incentive or a reward. So, you know, if somebody felt belittled by a small reward or small esteem when they realize, you don't even realize how close to amazing the work it was I did, there's just some interesting conversations around to what degree do you dangle the carrot or use the stick. and everybody I have ever met who has ever tried to really be an effective teacher has just not done nothing but work their heads off. You know, they've just been incredibly focused and for the most part loved and cared for kids. So, you know, to put in the test scores, which still don't necessarily aggregate growth well enough, and they're still focused on, you know, when you get a kid that walks into the school with 300.
We're talking about tests and not like projects and portfolios.
They're not other forms of performance. That's right. So it's just, it's a funny little thing to blend policy and philosophies of evaluation, whether you're evaluating a kid or you're evaluating a classified staff member, or you're evaluating certified class member, it's all a very interesting combination of the role of evaluation.
I guess that leads me to this question, Dr. Lewis, which is, at the end of the day, like irrespective of this, right? We want to make sure that all children in our community have access to great teachers, great leaders. Like, do you have what you need from the governing board to do your best to make sure that we are putting our best humans in front of our children every single day?
If you
What
could,
more do you need from the governing board?
we
to make
need
that
a,
happen?
we need a talent pool that's attracted to this district that wants to be here.
Mhm.
And the more you stay healthy, and the more that you help make this the magical place to be that it is,
Mhm.
the more I want to be here to work hard for you, any of us. So it's not going to be a super tangible thing, but the more we can help with foundational pay and benefits, the more we can help with teaming opportunities and time,
Mhm.
you know, the more that we can help with, we believe in you statements, because we really mean it, the more I think we keep swirling the positive, positive begets positive.
Mhm.
That's my answer for now. There's probably a smarter answer, but that's what I got right now.
Okay, I just like wanna keep hearing, like, do the principals have what they need to get the teams in order? Do the teachers feel they have the resources they need? I try to stay out of that and just focus on the superintendent relationship as a governing board member.
Yeah.
But like, these are the things I think about,
Yeah.
cause I think the policy was intended to get to that, but I don't see that really happening.
Yeah.
Jeannie, sorry if I cut you off.
No, it's okay, but I mean, I was really just gonna agree with Dr. Lewis and talk about how multifaceted those needs are and how they include so many different things from, you know, not only the principals who are there at the school sites, but, you know, us as governing board members. And, yeah, I think that there's a lot of things that we're working on that are trying to focus on making this a desirable place for teachers to be in. And this climate in Arizona, that's really the best that we can do. And personally, just with our, you know, our strategic planning and our mission and vision, I think that we're taking steps in the right direction.
Mhm.
But other people in this state don't make it easy for us.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Was that you winking and nudging on the phone? All right.
Okay.
Thanks,
So
Dr. Lewis.
that's the end, right? So
Yeah.
does anybody else have any more questions for Dr. Lugo?
Nope.
Okay. So that means that future agenda items 11A is the next item on our agenda. Does anybody have any future agenda items that they would like to put forward?
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting adjourned. Gavel up.
Gavel down. All right. Thank you, Jeannie, for calling in.